Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
Good evening and welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, and our sponsor for tonight's show is 1 Minute Motivation Podcast. And welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have special guest Cynthia Zhai, founder of Powerful Executive Voice. Cynthia is a voice coach, professional speaker, a TEDx speaker, and best-selling author. She has helped professionals from 46 countries across 6 continents to speak with a powerful voice. Cynthia has been a professional speaker and coach for the past 18 years, and her engagement spans 5 continents in 18 countries. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Cynthia Zhai. Hello, Cynthia. How are you?
Hi, Kimberly. I am doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Well, you are quite welcome, and I'm excited and ecstatic. And for those who weren't, paying attention to the things that I've been posting, Cynthia is calling all the way from Singapore. So it's like 8 o'clock in the morning there, and then of course it's 7 o'clock in the evening here on the East Coast. So it's really a pleasure to have you spend your morning and start your day off with me. So please, Cynthia,
Yes.
Tell the listeners a little bit more about who Cynthia is.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am a voice coach. As a voice coach, I help people develop a powerful voice so that whenever they are speaking, they are being heard, whoever they are speaking with and whenever they are speaking. So that's what I do.
So, Cynthia, tell us a little bit more about your background. Now, do you actually have a business here in the States as well as there in Singapore?
So right now it's mainly, I am, the so-called headquarters is in Singapore.
Okay.
So I am running my business from Singapore, but I have a lot of clients, a lot of students in the States.
Okay. So why don't you just give us a little bit more background about, so are you originally from Singapore and how you got really started into being a voice coach? Because this is the juice that we want to hear. All the gritty stuff, all the good information that makes us who we are today. So tell my listeners a little bit more about you.
Sure. So I was originally born and raised in China, and moved to Singapore almost 15 years ago. And so I started my business in Singapore 11 years ago. And so that was what I've been doing for the past 11 years. And when I started, there were a lot of challenges. And so challenges like I was in a new country with little financial reserve, with no friend. So, but those challenges, they didn't stop me. And instead, they became kind of a catalyst for me. And so I was able not only to start a business, but also make the business thrive.
So being there in Singapore, so you say you started this 11 years ago, or you actually moved there 11 years ago, but you actually have been being a speaker and a coach for more than 18 years. What inspired you to take what you have learned throughout the years and decided to, share your knowledge and your gift with everybody else?
I had always been looking for what my mission, what my purpose was. So I think even in college, there was a period that I was feeling quite down in college because I wasn't sure what my purpose was. And so I think in every job, before I started my business, in every job that I was in, I was always looking for if this will help me to fulfill my purpose. So before I started my business, I was working for companies. So I worked for different companies. And my last job in Singapore was doing training for our own employees. And so that was the job that I liked and I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to do something on my own. So that's why that I left that job and then started on my own. And once I started the business on my own, it really helped me realize more and more that I can make a direct impact on people. I can help better people's lives. And that's where it gave me the most fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing that I'm just sitting here listening to you talk about that really stood out to me was that you had to learn what your purpose was. So take us a little bit on that walk, on that journey of, you were saying that, you were kind of depressed. Things you weren't really happy about how things were going. And then you knew that you hadn't found your purpose. Talk a little bit about that little bit of a struggle and what was the defining moment that made you realize what your purpose was?
There are quite a lot of things. So one of the things was, I remember in college, I was helping a friend. And then before I helped him, I was not feeling very happy that day. Mm-hmm. And then I remember once I helped him and he was very happy and I was overjoyed. So at that moment, I realized, oh my God, when I help other people, I am feeling even more joyful than he is. So that was one of the moments that made me realize when I help another person, it gave me the happiness. So that was one of the moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's amazing, because I think that's a lot of times when we have our certain things that we go through in our own personal lives, and then, like you said, you were down, but here it is that you're helping somebody else, and then that one moment made you understand how important it was to the other individual, but at the same token, it wakened something inside of you to say, you know what, this is where I'm the happiest. And so then from there, throughout college and so forth, you obviously, it's like you explained that you had other jobs, and then you had the one job that really stood out to you the most, where you were truly helping other employees, you were training and being a part, but then you said, you know what, I want to do this myself. So how was that defining moment when you realized that you could do better on your own?
Yes. So even though for my last job, I was enjoying it, but one was that the training material was already determined by the company. Mm-hmm. So I had to do what they have given us. And I wanted to have more autonomy. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs will value, the autonomy. Mm-hmm. And then two was that I wanted to train people who are ready, who are open to self-development. So a lot of times when you train the company employees, many of them, they were not open. They were just there to do the training so they can achieve certain training points. Mm-hmm. So those were the two of the reasons that made me want to come out on my own. And of course, that just the decision itself, it took almost a year.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because, it's a huge step.
Yes, because at the time, whenever I thought about, oh my God, I'm going to start on my own. Mm-hmm. So I could literally feel my stomach sink.
Right.
And so I was terrified. And that was the reason that it took me almost a year to finally decide that, okay, that's it. One of the things that prompted me to finally decide was a friend who was younger. I think he was 2 years younger than I am. Mm-hmm. And one day we were having coffee with a lot of friends. And then he said, I just started my company.
Uh-huh.
And in my head, I was thinking, what? Even him?
Like, if he can do it, I know I can do it, right?
That's right.
That's awesome.
So I think, and then I was thinking, oh my God, if he can do it, I can do it. And if I don't start now, it will be too late. Mm-hmm. So I think that prompted me to finally decide to do it on my own. Mm-hmm. Well, I think he showed me some possibility. Yes. So I think his experience showed me possibility. So that's what prompted me.
Okay. Yeah. And, it's amazing how sometimes it takes that one person to make you kind of, like you said, just you were on the edge anyway, but to really make you go over that portion and just jump over and say, you know what, I'm going to do this. But the thing that I like about what you were saying is that when you were with the company that you were with and how, you enjoyed what you did, but the thing that stood out the most to you was that these employees, they didn't really value or really partake in what it was that you were training them on, because they had to do the training. And I agree with you on what you're saying on that, because, all of us, all the companies, we all, for us who still do work in companies as well. And for those who are continuing, to support, the companies that they're working for, businesses, we all have to go through this process of training, and it's so mundane. There's no real thought process put into it. You're like a robot. We know we got to do this. We got to get this done every year, because if we don't, then we can't keep our job. And that's really kind of sad, because I find that, the value, and it's not that the content is bad, but that it gives no value to hear our voice. And so with your business and with you teaching people how to truly bring the power of their voice, what are some of the things that you bring out of individuals when it comes to speaking the powerful voice?
One of the things is every one of them, they have a message, or they have a voice. So a lot of my clients, they are working in companies, and then they always find that, I have good insights, I have great ideas, but whenever I speak, my voice doesn't carry that out. And then someone else said the same idea. The idea was my client who actually brought it up in the first place, but they were not heard because the voice was not powerful. Mm-hmm. And so that's what make them feel struggled, because they feel that they're not being heard. Their voice was not strong enough, not powerful enough. So I help them to bring out that voice so that they can use that voice to make their powerful idea get heard.
Mm-hmm. And with this training and with your coaching, this is what I prefer to call it versus training, but with your coaching and that, and you talk about allowing people to be able to hear their voice. So when you're talking to these individuals, these professionals that are trying to hear their voice, what specifically is it that you kind of hone into? What is it that stands out to you, as an example that you've learned throughout the years of working with people that they seem to forget when they need to hear that their voice needs to be heard?
So when we are working on that, in the beginning, in the first 2 to 3 years, I was working on the voice quality, voice mechanism itself, because most of them, their voice was either soft or it just doesn't have the power. Mm-hmm. Or some of my clients, they did have the power, but it was too overpowering, too aggressive. Mm-hmm. It was also not being heard. So in the beginning, I was working with them on the quality of the voice so that they can either have a stronger voice, have a so-called louder voice to be heard. And or for those who are overpowering or sound too aggressive, how they can tone it down to develop a voice quality that's still being heard without overpowering. Mm-hmm. As I started to help them to develop their voice, I also realized that they have a lot of mental blocks. Like even they have a stronger voice, but then they feel that, if I say this, what if what I'm saying is not perfect? What if that people would judge what I think? What if my idea is sounding stupid? So I realized not only they need to work on the voice quality, but also they need to remove those mental blocks so that they can become unstoppable when they're speaking.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely agree with you. And I think even personally, I find myself sometimes struggling. I feel very comfortable when I'm behind my mic, but then when you're out there in front of people in the public eye, you're like, okay, it's a complete difference of trying to have your voice be elevated in a way where they understand where you're coming from, because everybody's story is very important. And whatever they're speaking on, but at the same token, it's like coming across in a way to where people are gravitating to what you're saying. And I think the biggest thing that I have learned and have seen in some other people is that the thing I think I just heard you say is that people are they want to be perfect. And I don't think that's really the most important part when it comes to speaking about whether you're perfect. It's whether you're actually coming across to people in a authentic way, and your story is reaching them in the proper way. So when you have a student, so to speak, or you're coaching a professional like me, for instance, that would have that somewhat of a fear of how do you turn that around from going behind the mic to coming out, in the front of people and really having that same feeling of not so much authentic, not being authentic, but just being able to reach the people in the same way versus being behind the mic and bring it out in the front. Have you been able to work with clientele like that?
Yes. So, and also some of my clients who are entrepreneurs, they said, I have been spending months behind my computer to avoid speaking in front of people to get business. So, you see, whatever negative emotions we're experiencing, including, for example, when we're thinking, oh, am I perfect? How will people receive me? Including the time when I was in college that I was feeling a bit depressed. That in those times, it was because our focus was too much on ourselves, on how people see us. So it's the same as people shift in speaking in front of people with confidence as the time that when I was helping other people, because my focus was shifted from me to the other person. So when we are able to shift the attention from ourselves to another person, then you will have more confidence. You will have more caring to whoever you are talking with, to whoever you are helping with. So one of the things I do with my clients is to help them shift the focus. So instead of thinking, oh, now I'm going to speak, how will they think of me? Will they laugh at me, or will they not laugh at my humor? So we want to shift that to 3 questions that they need to ask. One is, what is the message I want them to take away with? So you must get very clear about the message. And then the second one is, how do I want them to feel after listening to me? And the third one is, what action do I want them to take after listening to me? So when you focus your attention on these 3 questions and use these 3 questions as a guidance to help you structure what you say, and no matter how long the speech is or the presentation is, when you get those 3 in place, then you will know for sure that they will get the message, they will have the feeling, they will have certain action to take. Then you won't have the nervousness, or the nervousness will be well managed.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here listening now. I'm captivated by just hearing you speak to me right now. I'm like, yeah, So just having those few tips in those resources that you just pulled out here, just a few seconds, it helped me think about the elevation of what it is that what do you want people to hear, and that's exactly the thought process I think that most of us have in our heads. But I think a big part of it too is standing in front of people is like, oh my gosh, there really are people here. It is a huge difference. And but the way that you just said it so elegantly make it makes more sense for those individuals who are struggling. And I love the story you just said about the gentleman who's like, I don't want to deal with these people. I'm just going to hide behind, and doing all of this. And it's funny because even now with us having to constantly, we're zoomed out, we're on Teams all the time, we're on Skype or whatever we're utilizing as technology. This has been the perfect opportunity for people to hide, because they don't have to always turn on that video, so that people can actually see them, and they have to stand out in a different way versus before when you're in a room full of people in an office environment. You don't always have to be the standout person, So I think go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. You reminded me of a session I was doing. So I was doing a webinar on Zoom, and this session was be heard with your powerful voice. And then in the beginning, so many people joined with their cameras off. So then I was laughing. I said, if you want to be heard, you have to be visible. I said, all of you are hiding behind the camera.
Yep. It's that comfort zone, that one thing's like, okay,
Yes.
well, who's going to be first, So,
Yes.
that's awesome. But yeah, you're definitely right. It's hard. I just think it's definitely a mental block, and I think a big part of it too that I have learned that even just doing with podcasting, there was a time where I would have, when I did the podcasting, I actually did it as well, where people could physically see us, whether it was on Facebook or on Zoom or whatever the case may be. But what I was learning was that people weren't valuing the content and listening and actually learning. That was so busy. Oh, she's got a beautiful, outfit on today, or look at those rings, or, it was all the physical. And so
Yes.
it was like, I kept thinking, how do I get people to really understand the importance of the content and the value that these guests are bringing on without having to feel like you're worried about what they look like. So like I was just saying a few minutes ago, listening to you give those tips were just phenomenal. I'm sitting here captivated by what you just processed in my mind about this is what you need to do when you're out in front of people. So, when you have these clients and, you're going through them trying to see themselves, what other advice do you give for that?
So besides these three questions, the other thing is that I asked them to think about what they really worried about. So for me, even myself, in the early stage of my career, one of the mental blocks I was breaking down was being visible, the fear of being visible. Mm-hmm. So that was my fear as well. So I asked them to think about when you are fearful about being visible or when you are fearful of being judged, what is it that you are really afraid of? If you are being seen, if you are being judged, what's the worst that can happen? Mm-hmm. So then we break that down, and then we realize at the end of the day, actually there's nothing to be afraid of.
Right.
And but we never looked at it. Because we never looked at it, so we thought that, there's something there. So we have to shine a light on those fears. Then those fears are also being heard. Once they are being heard, they don't really matter that much anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think, for example, for me, being visible in the past, somehow I was relating that to being in danger. And so that came from my childhood. Mm-hmm. And so once I realized that, I am not in danger and I am okay with being visible. And being visible means that I can help more people. Mm-hmm. So that helped me to get more and more comfortable to being visible.
Yeah, and I think that's what you just said was definitely profound. That when you dug deeper inside of yourself, you had to understand what was it that made you so fearful, and then what you just said about, having the fear of something that happened in your childhood. I think it's amazing that how that clicks, because I don't think a lot of times as adults that we always, want to go back that far, want to sit back and think about the worst thing that's happened to us. But at the same token, the journeys that we have been on and the things that have happened to us in our lives is a big part of who we are and a big part of the story, and which makes us powerful, and makes us heard, is because we're sharing that information. I think that's the other big thing that people are starting to do more of and understand. Yes. That this is what makes you stand out, is the things that you've been through in life.
Yes, that's right. So that's why, that the more I do my work, the deeper I dig into my work, and the more I realize that this is the work that I was meant to do. Mm-hmm. Because of those struggles that I had, those challenges that I had, then now I can understand more deeply how my clients, how my students, their struggles are like. And because of those struggles, not only help me understand them better, but also that once I overcome those struggles, they became my wealth, because I have been through that. I can help other people. Mm-hmm. So that's what I also recommend to others, where that look at their struggle as their wealth.
Yeah, very well said. I like that. Look at your struggles as your wealth. I mean, obviously, you're teaching people that at the end of the day, you're not alone. You know, there's somebody who's definitely gone through what you've gone through, but the key thing is utilizing what you've gone through as a part of your tool, as a part of your resources, like something you pull out of that toolbox and say, hey, if I use this tool, this is going to help me move forward to what it is I'm trying to get accomplished. So, you know, I definitely agree with, you know, what you're saying. And I think it's amazing that you have spent 18 years and here you, in a span of 5 continents and 18 countries, you have been a professional speaker, coach. I mean, that's just phenomenal. I can't even sit back here and just the thought of it, I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So that's to stay open to possibilities. Because when I started my own business, I never thought about, okay, I'm gonna speak in 5 continents.
Right.
So, but whenever there was opportunity, I grab it. So that's what I would recommend. Whoever has the desire, has the aspiration, is to stay open to all kinds of opportunities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to ask one more question, and before we end the show, and I always ask everybody, I mean, you've definitely given us a lot of great, juicy information this evening, but if you had someone or one other piece of advice that you would like to give somebody when it comes to starting a business, what would that advice be?
Is to talk to people. Talk to people meaning that is to go out there, network, share your ideas so that you can see how the idea you have in your head is being received, how you can twist the idea. Because a lot of times, and now more and more entrepreneurs are asking me, and I realize that the common problem that they're facing is that they're trying to create something out of their head without testing it in the market. So testing it in the market, meaning that you go out there, talk to people about your idea, and then see how they respond. And then you will see whether there's a market need and how it's being received by the market. Get out of your, right now, maybe it's not possible to get out of your house.
Right.
But get out of your head. Now go online to join all kinds of different association online meetings and network so that you can see how your idea is being received by the market.
I like that. And I mean, and that's really very much the old school way of just sharing that information and ideas and realizing that this always has worked. And it's just that I think a lot of times people kind of remove themselves from that, and they have that mentality too of, hey, I open a business, everybody's going to come mentality. And that's not always necessarily true. And so, you know, you're absolutely right. You know, but taking that and marketing yourself in a way where, you know, this is going to be a sample of what it is I want to do. What do you think? And so, yeah, I love that idea. And for those who are listening, you know, this has been a phenomenal evening of wealth of information. Cynthia, you have been great. But what I also would like for you to do is please tell the listeners how they can get a hold of you.
Sure. So the best place, if they want to see me teach, they can go to YouTube. So on YouTube, we have, I think, more than 200 videos.
Wow.
So more than 200 videos. And right now we have about 42K subscribers. So I'd love to have them to go there because there are a lot of videos, 3 to 5 minutes, that I teach some of the techniques. So they can go to YouTube, just search Cynthia Voice Coach. They should be able to find my channel. So that's the best place they can go. And then, of course, they can also find me on all kinds of social media. So they search Cynthia Voice Coach. They should be able to find. The last one is my website. So the website is powerfulexecutivevoice.com. So on my website, they can download a step-by-step 3-part free video series that will lead them step-by-step to develop their powerful voice. And then also they can see some of the upcoming webinars that I will be doing.
All right. This is awesome. Well, Cynthia, I so much appreciate you, like I said, starting your day out with me. And it's just been like an amazing amount of information and that, we could possibly have to understand what it means to use the power of your voice, learn the certain techniques. And I mean, hey, you can't help it. I mean, for those who were saying that, well, I can't afford it, there's no excuse because she's got plenty, 200 videos. If you can get through 200 videos, then,
Yes.
you're taking it seriously. Okay. So no excuses, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, again, thank you for coming on this evening and spending time with me. Do you have any last words for my guests, for our listeners this evening?
I think, like what you said, that there's no excuse. The resources are there. So just go out there and dive into them.
All right. All right, everyone. Again, I thank you for coming on tonight, Cynthia, and for everyone else. It has been, like I said, an amazing evening of wealth of information. So if you were not listening live, you can tune back in anytime and re-listen, do the replay of the show, because I'm telling you, if you're truly interested in knowing what it means to be a powerful speaker, you definitely want to go back and review this amazing show. And as well, the other things that I would like to talk to you about, think about what you want to do, what you wish for existed for 2021. We all have something that we want to do. I mean, everybody's thinking about, obviously we're here in a new year, but it's not just about the new year. It's about the fact that these are things that you can get up and do every day. What is that wish? If you want to talk about that and you want to just have that great conversation, reach out to me anytime. You can reach out to me through my Gmail, which is at KimberlyWSBILC@gmail.com. And let's just have a chat. Maybe you might want to decide you want to write your first book. Maybe you might want to decide you want to have your first podcast show. But all of this is truly about sharing the power of your voice, which we have been talking about now for the last 30 minutes. So this is a great opportunity to sit back and think about what is it you want to do? What is it you wish for 2021? But until then, again, like I said, I thank you all for listening tonight. And I also want to thank my sponsor, again, 1 Minute Motivation Podcast, for sponsoring our show. But until then, we will see you next week again with another amazing guest. And be sure to listen to us right here on iHeartRadio. Or you can download our mobile app on Google Play or listen to the podcast wherever you choose. But until then, enjoy the rest of your evening and good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.